Good morning, good morning, good morning. Do you see me? Give me a thumbs up. Yes, I think I see us on there. We ready to go? All right, let's go. Fire, lights, camera, action. This is how we do it for you. Good morning. Welcome into the Real Monica Adams show. We like to give you a little behind the scenes. What happens before I decide to go on? Well, there's a lot. In fact, we think we need to do a time lapse video so that you can see what we do to get ready for you today. Positivity and building a life team. What's that all about? Well, we're going to talk about a book that you're seeing right here in front of you, Building Your Team in Your 20s or your 30s or your 40s or your 50s. The author will be with me here shortly. We want to make sure that you got a good grasp on what's going on in the world. Of course, weather-wise, for those of you that are local to us, we like to take care of Missouri and Illinois. Of course, check your weather wherever you are and let us know what it's like. Are you on the beach? Are you climbing something in a mountain somewhere? Are you active? Are you on vacation? Remember to take the positivity with you. The Real Monica Adams Show. We are everywhere on multiple platforms. We're going to give you some news you can use, and then we're going to get right into inspiring you. Let's first give you the weather forecast. 67 was the high yesterday. Can you believe it? It's absolutely crazy what we were just talking about last week. And now here we are. We're talking about some sunshine, which was so beautiful to feel yesterday. 63 for our high today, 43 for the low. Tomorrow, though, is the day for the possibility of some rain. So 62 for your high. It's about a 40% chance that you will experience rain, but we're not talking an all-day soaker, but you might want to have your umbrella. 62, 37 then, and then very breezy. So watch your hats. Ladies, sorry, you might not have good hair days on Thursday and into Friday. 56 and 66 as we go to Friday. Then we get into Saturday and Sunday. We're in the low to mid 50s. You might have some rain moving in again as you go into Saturday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, some light chances. But look at the forecast. I mean, we don't actually get back into the 40s until next week, Thursday. So enjoy this beautiful stretch of weather, and we'll check in again with our aspiring meteorologist, Beckett Moore, coming up on Friday. We promised yesterday to continue to give you the latest news on Pope Francis. If you haven't heard, he entered into the hospital with a respiratory problem and then developed pneumonia, double pneumonia at that. But just with the strength of God on his side, he actually had a chance to work yesterday. So he did, in fact, say Catholic Mass from the hospital, did not want to disappoint, which is just absolutely amazing in him. Still, though, in critical condition, but again, we look for the positivity, showing some slight improvement. Despite being in the hospital in Rome for the past 10 days, the Pope remains in charge of the Catholic Church and its 1 billion followers worldwide. The Vatican provided a medical update Sunday night, which said that despite its severity, the Pope's clinical condition has shown signs of improvement in laboratory tests. So, oxygen therapy continuing to be administered, but with slightly reduced flow and oxygen levels. So, definitely not out of the woods, but it's great to hear that there are some slight improvements. Again, suffering a respiratory crisis, and we will continue to follow the latest on that. We've also been talking about this, unfortunately, for a while, and it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. The price of eggs, if you've been to the grocery store, you know just how high they are. I heard somebody say that they paid like $8 or $9 for 18 eggs, which is just crazy. With those egg prices skyrocketing, you're going to see that effect all over the place at restaurants, maybe bakeries. We're going to talk about another restaurant that's joined the Waffle House. They are announcing an egg surcharge. That's Denny's. They will be adding that to their meals, including eggs, as they adjust prices due to supply challenges. In a statement on Monday, the company explained the surcharge is necessary due to the nationwide egg shortage and rising costs. We've also been talking about not only the shortage aspect, but the bird flu causing that as well. The average prices you're seeing in January of this year, $4.95. Last year it was $2.52. That's for a dozen of eggs. You know what? I'm going to say if you can find it for that, because I've seen it for much more, but that's the average. And then bakeries are feeling the effect as well. As we mentioned, as you go to buy your baked goods, expect bakeries and consumers to keep making sacrifices as those egg prices remain high. All right, how many of you get an opportunity to go to Branson? I'll raise my hand in that one. Unfortunately, this is bad news if you by chance stay at this particular hotel. hotel, there was an explosion at a Branson, Missouri hotel. A natural gas line leak leads to that explosion. Fire crews in Branson say it led to this yesterday at the Spark by Hilton, which is on Shepherd of the Hills Expressway. It happened about 11:30 in the morning. Fire officials say a line outside the building ruptured. Minutes later, something ignited the explosion. It shattered windows. It damaged the outside of the hotel. Firefighters say one hotel employee suffered minor injuries. 3 firefighters sent to area hospitals to be evaluated, so we wish them the best. The hotel had no guests, though, inside their rooms during the explosion, so that is good news. So should I move out of St. Louis and think about going to New York? What do you think? Every time my mom saw an opening at like the Today Show or something that I wanted to do in my past career, she was like, Monica, go apply for that. What am I talking about now? Lester Holt stepping down. This is not going to happen immediately. It will happen as we get closer to the summer. I saw this yesterday and knew that we were going to do this for you right away. NBC nightly news anchor Lester Holt stepping down from the news broadcast again this summer. He has managed the editor aspect of the show for a long time, stepping down to focus on his role at Dateline, where he's been the principal anchor since September of 2011. He's been an NBC nightly news anchor, though, since June of 15. NBC is not saying right now who will step into the NBC nightly news anchor roles. Do I get back in news? The answer to that is absolutely, positively no. Also, I'm a big fan of this woman. Unfortunately, she passed away. Roberta Flack, what a beautiful, silky, soulful voice. She did pass away, and if you're a big fan of her, Roberta Flack, Grammy-winning singer with an intimate style, she passed away at the age of 88, dying at her home, surrounded by her family. Her publicist said Flack announced back in 2022 that she had ALS, commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease, and could no longer sing, and then it just continued to go down from there. So rest in peace, Roberta, and thank you for everything that you provided to our world. All right, you know the white shirts, you know the orange shorts. Guys, maybe girls as well. Hooters announcing that they are going to possibly have to file for bankruptcy. So for those, I haven't been, I've been, I'm going to support the girls, but haven't been in a long, long time. A lot of people like their chicken wings. They are likely preparing to file for bankruptcy, according to the most recent reports. The outlet said that Hooters is reportedly working with Ropes and Gray law firm to prepare this filing. Now, again, the plans aren't final, but if they go through, Bloomberg said that the bankruptcy filing would begin in the next few months. And according to Restaurant Business Online, Hooters has just under 300 locations nationwide. And I know that includes our area. We've been talking about Starbucks way too often in the news. And here we go again. I was listening to CBS News coming in this morning, and they were talking about some changes being made and some things being taken off the menu. Like, do you like that white hot chocolate? Well, that might not be there anymore. Maybe some of the coffees that you're used to, and even some teas. So they are laying off employees. They are getting ready to cut about 1,100 corporate employees as the coffee chain streamlines. And they say that 16,000 corporate support employees worldwide by Starbucks, but that includes some employees who aren't impacted, like your roasting, your warehouse staff, the baristas in the company's stores who make up most of the company's 361,000 employees worldwide. They are not included in the layoffs, but we will keep an eye to that, and we'll tell you some more things that will be coming off the menu. In sports, a lot of basketball on tap. We've got the Billikens, we've got Mizzou on tap as well, but it's the Blues back in action. I'm excited about it. Big Blues fan. That's how we do it. Before we hit 7:15, we get you all up to date in the world of what's going on, things that maybe you want to talk about and tell your family or friends, but not a lot of negativity, because if you want the negativity, you got to go back to the news. I will not be providing that for you right here. Instead, we're going to lift you up and we're going to tell you who you need to start surrounding yourself with. Is it like-minded people? Well, it's not always. Sure, there's people that you want to surround yourself with that think your way, but it would be boring if we all acted and thought the same way in the world. So there has to be people that challenge you a little bit and give you a differing opinion. They make up a part of your life team. What does that look like? Well, we're going to talk to the author of the book, Building Your Team in Your 20s. And you say, I'm not in my 20s, okay, or your 30s, or your 40s, or your 50s. We'll talk about all that with you. Also on this day, let's talk about what the National Day of calendar showed. And for today, we've got just a couple of things that are showing up. One of those may be that you go for lunch and order some clam chowder. Oh, the best used to be at Noah's Ark. I'm just going to say, I miss Noah's Ark. National Clam Chowder Day, and it's National Chocolate Covered Nut Day. So put them together if you would like, whatever you want. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I don't want to butcher your name. I hope it's Sienkiewicz. Do we know? Caitlin, I don't want to butcher your name. Oh my gosh, I'm so good at this. Okay, I tried. Caitlin Sienkiewicz, she is the author of the book that we are mentioning. Again, building up that team in 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. What does it look like? We're going to inspire you. She will be in the blue chair when we return.
Monica, I can't thank you enough for having me on your show. I'm just so blessed and grateful. Finding people like yourself and those that you interview is priceless. Being able to spread hope and joy, love, empowerment, encouragement, and letting everyone know that sharing their story is extremely powerful, and their story is so unique, and they need to share their story because you don't know who you will impact and change, and it could change the trajectory of someone's entire day or the trajectory of their entire life by just hearing your story. And for you to be able to share everyone's story and let people know they're not alone, thank you so much for doing that. And the intentionality is fabulous. I love you already. We've known each other for several months now, but I'm so glad that we were able to do this together, and great things to come. So thank you so much for everything you do. Your show is amazing. You are amazing, and you're just an inspiration to everyone. So I appreciate you. I'm blessed to be here, and thank you.
This morning. We're also going to have a heck of a lot of fun with you next week as we celebrate 500 shows. Woohoo! 500 shows in 2 years. March 1st, by the way, will be the official 2-year point. And right after that, we're going to start celebrating with you. So many people have reached out saying, I'm going to try to come to this one and this one and this one. So we are excited about Hello Juice and Smoothie. That will be the first food one that we feature for you. We're going to actually work out the day before that at Extra Mile Fitness, but then we're going to fuel you up. So Hello Juice and Smoothie, Jen Manus has been on with us talking about her dream and her passion and the team that she built to get her where she is. Want to thank Jen and John, by the way. Look at those bowls. Yummy. Have you ever had one of those? I like the OG, but there's many that you can get. And I think we might even be creating one for all of you that are Monica's Maniacs. You know it's going to be blue for sure. So they have 2 locations, the Grove, and then they also have the Kirkwood location. We're going to be at the Kirkwood location, 9 o'clock that morning. We will have a live show for you. So I'm going to come on briefly that morning. If there's anything big I need to tell you about in the world, I will. But then the longer version of that show will be on Wednesday. And again, that is at 9 a.m. So that's the food one for you. We've got other ones that we'll tell you about in this hour, but start planning that on the calendar, and I'll tell you about the workout part of it, which kicks off the entire week on Tuesday in just a little bit. Let me bring my guest on. We've been talking about inspiring you and talking about life teams. Have you ever heard that word before, that term? What does it look like for you professionally, personally, etc.? Caitlin Sienkiewicz. I'm glad I didn't butcher your name. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And we want to thank my friend Katie Ross, by the way. So Katie reached out to me and said, I've got a girl, don't know if maybe you want to put her on your show. I think you might, because it sounds like a lot of the things that you talk about. And so she had a chance to go and see you speak in Sunset Hills just a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
You don't live here, though.
I don't. I live in Chicago, but
Yes.
I'm from St. Louis.
You are from well, where'd you
Yeah.
grow up?
I grew up in the Clayton-Ledoux area.
Oh, fantastic. Here's the old question. Where'd you go to school?
I went to MICDS.
There we go. What is it about St. Louis that asks that question? For me, it was always, oh, do I know somebody I played soccer with, or did we hang at a party together?
Yep.
So many people say, oh, no, it's because of this reason or that reason. Whatever. So whatever you did it for. But yeah, so if you're from St. Louis, that's the question that you get asked. And if you're a transplant, you don't understand why we ask that question.
All
I
the
get
time.
that. Yes. So we're going to give you some background on Caitlin and what led her up to this. So from an author standpoint, did you want to write a book for a long time or
No.
No? Interesting. So everybody at any point can say, it's time for me to do this. When did the juices start coming up here in the head to say, I want to do this?
Yeah. So I had always had this idea. I was very conscious about who I wanted to surround myself with, from both the perspective of who I enjoyed being with, but also who I felt like I needed to sort of plug my holes or cover my blind spots. Whether that was how I grew up in my family or whatever it was, we were conscious of like, I couldn't do it all, nor did I think I needed to be able to. So I like to have people around me who were helpful, who were smarter than I was, who were more capable, you name it. It wasn't until I think it was April of 2020, I was doing what everyone was doing, which was thinking about the people I wasn't seeing, talking about the places I wasn't going, and having thoughts about all the things I wasn't able to do.
You were in Montana, weren't you, at the time?
Yeah, well, in April of 2020, I was at home and I asked my family the first time, who's on your team?
Yeah.
Tell me about your life team. And everyone looked at me like, what do you mean, who's on my team?
And what is a life team? I'm
Yeah,
not playing
right.
sports right now.
Right. You know, my younger siblings are like, well, on my soccer team or on my field hockey team? And my dad's like, on my executive team? And everyone's kind of like, what are you talking about? And I was saying to them, no, who are the people that you want around you when you're taking on new challenges or when you're going through hardships or when you're super excited? Who's going to be at your party? Like, whatever it is, who are those people?
Right.
And eventually everybody, you know, majorly caught on, and they're, you know, talking about why they want this person on their team or why these people need to be on their team, who's their co-captain, whatever it was. Then fast forward a couple years to Montana. I was in the backcountry, totally disconnected, where I do some of my best life thinking.
Well, sure, because you're unplugged from all of these things, right? And
Exactly.
these things. And you can think clearer.
And you can think and you can have great conversation. And so I was having a conversation. It was my mom, my dad, my brother, my fiance at the time. And, you know, we were going through the same question. That's now frequent in our conversations. What's new with your life team? New positions, new vacancies, new openings, whatever it is. And my brother and my fiance said, you know what? I think you should write a book on this. Like, I think that this topic actually might resonate with other people, not just in our family. And I looked at both of them like,
me write a book?
You want me? You think that that's something I can do? And there were some crazy aha moments afterwards. A publisher, I actually found myself in a separate conversation and was connected through a publisher totally by chance. And he said, I think this is a really interesting idea. I think it's applicable to people in their 20s, 30s, you name it, 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s.
That's where it came from.
And that's where it started. You know how the story ended. Here's the book. And it was a crazy experience. I had conversations with people I never thought I would share airspace with, learning about how they build their teams, what they consider when surrounding themselves with people, how they take on their own challenges. So that was a long-winded answer to
No, but that's the thing I want you to do, because a lot of us, I've been writing a book, Caitlin, since 2012 and never thought that it was the time for it. I feel very powerfully that it's this year.
Yeah.
And so I might talk to you about, you know, the whole process of all this, but I think there's a lot of us that have so much to say, so much that you're feeling. And a lot of people are sitting there going, I've thought about writing a book, but I don't know. For you, and especially what you're talking about in this book, I think a lot of it had to do with timing. I mean, you think about where we were in the world. We think about the pandemic when you first started thinking about it in 2020, and then trying to come out of that. And so the life experiences that people had and the pull on being upset or depressed or feeling alone, and then the other people saying, "What? We're coming out of it. We'll lift you up."
Yeah.
And who do we surround ourselves with? Again, if you're just tuning in, we're talking with the author of the book about building our team in our 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s, Caitlin Sienkiewicz. And again, timing is everything. So maybe if somebody had said, "Oh, write a book 10 years ago," it would have been, "Oh, I don't know. It doesn't feel right."
Yeah.
But now we're at a point where we're just really wanting to embrace so much positivity and guidance. So when you talk about building a life team, and first of all, let's just, break down the word of it. So you mentioned earlier, team aspect, right? People all of a sudden, their mindset always has a tendency to go to athleticism,
For sure.
right? That's the first thing.
Yeah.
But what would you describe to them and give the definition of what a life team is?
Well, I think honestly, that's a really accessible way to introduce the topic is relating it to a sports team. You have all the different positions, players, you need coaches, you need support staff. It's such a comprehensive concept when you're building a team. You have to have all the different players. And as we know, when we analyze sports teams and their successes and their failures, they have the most success when everybody is clear on what their roles are, when they're unified in mission or in goals, and when they're working together. And a team that's successful, you can sense the camaraderie, you can feel the energy, it's palpable, it's exciting. All of that transfers really seamlessly to a life team. I have a couple different ways of describing a life team in the book, depending on sort of how I'm positioning the concept and how I'm posturing myself, on the team. But to say that it is a group of people who challenge you, support you, and encourage you as you try to become your most effective and authentic self. So sometimes I say as you try to be your best self, and ultimately that's the goal. I mean, I want to be my best self. I think a lot of people want to do that, but that's not always the case. Like, it's unrealistic to assume, I believe, and I have experienced, that I will always be my best self for whatever reason. So that's where this idea of effective and authentic. I love authenticity in other people. Like,
That's why she loves this show, because it's called The Real Monica Adams,
Totally.
right? You want people to be real.
I see such tremendous power in people sharing their authenticity.
Amen.
The challenges, the enthusiasms. I love when someone says, "I'm really proud of myself," because I think that demonstrates, courage and excitement. And I love when someone says, "This is what I'm struggling with," or
Right.
"I'm really challenged."
Because then you show vulnerability.
And so a life team are the people that you surround yourself with as you navigate all of those different chapters of life.
I love that you mentioned, hopefully you paid attention. And yesterday we talked about being very present and listening and not jumping in and ready to say what you want to say. But you talked about challenging and encouraging and supporting. People hear the word challenge and sometimes have an aversion to it, right? You watch their body language. What do you mean you want to challenge me? But one of the things I mentioned in the lead up to bringing Caitlin on was, who's on our life team, which we'll dig into. Sure, you're going to, like a magnet, you think of, oh, we've got so much in common. That's why you have great friends. That's why they become best friends. That's why you have someone you date that ultimately you marry. Oh, we have a lot in common, but we also always hear that opposites attract, and that someone should be there to say, well, maybe think this way. But you have to receive that well, instead of feeling, whatever, I don't want to listen to you. I also love that you said, I'm proud of myself, and that doesn't come across as arrogance, but do this, you deserve it, and way to go, and start to build up confidence. She starts the book, by the way, again, building your team in your 20s or 30s, 40s, and 50s. You talk about networking and the difference. And so I love the fact that it almost feels antiquated of what networking is. And you know what? And I smiled the entire time I was reading this going, she's so right. People get invited to, and I'm not knocking, by the way, networking, BNI.
Neither was I.
This space, by the way, that we're in at Adventure Unknown is built on that foundation,
Yeah.
but very, very different. Not like a BNI. And I think you would love what they're doing here because it's more in the mindset of what you have. But networking, we need connection. But tell them what you feel networking is and where it goes wrong.
So, and this is so funny, as I was sharing these thoughts sort of before I was writing them, I had lots of conversations with my husband. Is this a hot take, so to speak? Because there are parts of it where I sort of denounce this idea of networking. But what I share in my first chapter is, and I take you through the whole process, that actually networking as we view it in sort of this traditional, cocktail reception, you have a name tag with your name and who you work for, is just the first part of team building.
Yes.
So it's an unfinished practice as we are utilizing it now. The biggest part that I sort of take issue with is this transactional experience that oftentimes people find themselves in when they participate in this, generalized networking experience. Hi, nice to meet you, Monica. I'm Caitlin. Who can you connect me with? Or who can you introduce me to? Or can I tell you about what I'm able to do and you can proposition me with some new jobs?
Right.
Whatever it is. Of course, I'm dramatizing the
No,
experience,
you're not. It's really how a lot of people feel. It's awkward.
Yeah, it's awkward. It's uncomfortable. I say in the book, the best parts of me lie on the other side of the name tag, not who I work for, not, where I work and where I live or whatever it is. It's all the deeper parts, why I do what I do, why I'm interested in pursuing new work, why, the challenges I've overcome so that you might want to actually get to know me because maybe some of the things I've experienced, we can relate on together. So networking, this initial introduction, meet as many people as possible, I'm a huge fan of. I think is really important.
Sure.
And then I think the most important part and where the greatest value comes from is how you carry those conversations after you introduce yourself.
Yes, how you're moving forward.
How you're moving forward, what you're asking them, what you're sharing about yourself. I talk a lot about this idea of posturing yourself at the top of confidence, humility, and vulnerability. And I think that when you introduce yourself to someone, you're not going to share immediately, these are my most vulnerable parts of me or whatever it is, these are my insecurities. But you can ask other people to start the conversation and you get the ball rolling about, who someone is and what they care about and what they're interested in. And before you know it, if you continue to keep these three pillars of confidence, humility, and vulnerability sort of in the forefront of your mind, you will find yourself with deeper relationships and stronger friendships and better professional acquaintances because you will be recognizing the humanity of other people and they'll be able to see that in yourself.
Again, Caitlin Sienkiewicz is the author of the book that we're talking about. And I've got a lot of pages, as you see, that I turned down and what I feel was really what ignited so much in me. I don't want to give it all away to you because I want you to get this book and help to build your own life team. But the parts that you're talking about resonate with me so much because one of the main reasons that I wanted to start this show, and when we do, whether it's small businesses or we're telling a story that could be gut-wrenching, but then we show the inspiration coming out of it, is that true storytelling. It's the human interest side of us. I dated guys years and years and years ago before I met my husband, and it used to be going to a party with them, going to a networking event with them, and I would be introduced as Monica from WIL, Monica from KMOX, Monica from Fox 2, Monica from Channel 5, and I just thought, that is an extension of who I am. It's not who I am.
Totally.
There's so much of me. And if that's how you're introducing me, it's like, what can I do for you? Almost feeling used. Almost feeling like, who can I introduce you to? And that's fine if I can do that. But that's like surface friendship.
Yeah.
The people who are truly your friends and the people that you want to spend so much time with know you, love you. It's the ride or die. My husband just finally heard that for the first time. He's like, "What's ride or die, Monica?" I'm like, "You're so cute." But who are those ride or die people? We're going to talk about that. Again, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, and I'll look at comments, anything that's like an aha moment for you, any questions you have for Caitlin, drop them into the comment section and we'll look into that. But yes, we talked about networking, and a lot of you might go to networking and go, yeah, that just doesn't connect with me. And I don't feel that. That's again what she goes through in her first chapter. We're also, which I love, I'm very big on like workshop style things. There's a lot of questions that she asked, and she wants you to sit with them. Don't just like read through them fast and then move on. We're going to ask you some of those questions, and as we do it, I want you to go back to today's show, also get the book, and say, wow, that's a powerful question for me to ask yourself. Yes, that's why I love journaling. So sit down and do that. Transfer it from here onto paper.
Yeah.
She is an entrepreneur. She's an educator. She's an author. We're going to have more with Caitlin Sienkiewicz when we return.
This lady got me in the best shape of my life. I literally didn't know that I could be in shape like that. But the amount that she pours into her clients, and especially whenever you get the one-on-one training, it's mind-blowing. I mean, it was really life-changing. I learned so much about proper form, about nutrition, about just being able to invest in myself. I hired Monica to be my personal trainer, which was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Discover your full potential with a personalized styling experience. Designing, customizing, and transforming the looks of men and women. Revamp your individual style and embrace what makes you, you. That's real confidence.
Welcome back. We're taking a look at Extra Mile Fitness. Why? Well, because that's where we're going to kick off our 500th celebration. You know, I had to bring fitness into play. Somehow I still have to bring fashion into it, unless it's just the way I dress all week long, which is fine. But I'd love to do some type of a fashion aspect. So we're still working on anything else that we want to and you want us to include in the 500th celebration. So Tuesday is the actual 500th show. And so why not? Let's start a little early. And the reason we're doing that, the 6:30 workout group wanted us to come on over and join them. I want you to join us. Try it out. Maybe this is going to be the new community you're looking for. Maybe these are your life team people. Maybe 1111 Haran Drive in Fenton. It's going to be 6:30 in the morning, which, by the way, 2 years ago is when I started the show. We were actually doing it in the 6 o'clock hour, and it went into the 7 o'clock hour. So 6:30 to 7:30 or even 8 o'clock, we'll be doing the show. We'll be doing a workout together, and that's how we kick off 500. And then from there, we'll fuel you up the next day again at Hello Juice and Smoothie in Kirkwood. If you didn't hear that earlier, 9 a.m. And we'll talk more about Viviano's on Thursday and a new one that we just secured yesterday that will come on Friday. So you can't tell me there's not an opportunity for you to come and join us, meet us in person. All of you that call yourselves Monica's Maniacs, which evidently is my life team, I love you all, and I greatly appreciate all the support that you have ever given us. And thanks for making this be so successful, and we will continue, by the way, for the next several years. We're not stopping anytime soon. We're just getting started, folks. Trust me on that. If you're just tuning in, author Caitlin Sienkiewicz is my guest. So much more. Entrepreneur, educator. She's very big in bringing this inspiration to you. We talked a little bit about networking and how it feels a little antiquated, and then we talked about what is a life team. So she talks about this in the beginning of the book. Team, again, defined by the Oxford Dictionary as a group of players forming one side in a competitive game or sport. So a lot of you hear team and think athleticism. And then you start thinking, okay, well, I can see how this makes sense into what I'm building. But others are so supportive. You talk about, in the same way that I ask you to close your eyes and picture networking, I want you to imagine a team. And what immediately, if we were to ask you and we were in a group, without even thinking, what would you go to? I just talked about the St. Louis Blues. Some
Yeah.
people might be like City all day, right? And or you say St. Louis Cardinals or a field hockey team. Maybe you're thinking of a golf team that you tried out for in college. But then you go deeper into that and think, okay, well, who would be on my team? And I got to tell you, the person who asked me to come on, or asked you to come on with me, she right away said, I think you're going to love Caitlin for so many reasons. And I'm going to tell you, by the way, that I knew the day I met you that you were my life team. I thought that was really a powerful thing for her to say, like in the immediacy that maybe you can feel that in someone and then you build on that.
Sorry, I have something in my eye.
Oh, something dropping out of the ceiling. So life team, the combination of mundane words, Caitlin says, yet when put together, they become a powerful duo. A life team is a group of people that support you, encourage you, and challenge you, which is what we talked about in the early part of the show. So always remember, if you missed anything, you can always go back with that. They hold you accountable to becoming the most authentic, effective, and best version of yourself. Isn't that what we're all after? You would hope so. But I love the part of how different the team looks. So why, Caitlin, do you say don't always be looking for people who are like you, think like you? Why people that are on your team also have to think different and challenge us?
Yeah.
Why do you feel so strongly about that?
That's a really good question. I don't know that I've been asked why I feel strongly about having people with different perspectives, different skill sets, different talents, different interests. Why I think that's important. I recognize my limitations, and I see. I want to always continue to get better, but I also see. From a very realistic standpoint, like where my limitations lie and how there are other people who are tremendously more skilled, more athletic, more intelligent, whatever it is. And like from my perspective, how awesome to be in a position where I get to utilize and benefit from their strengths.
Right.
I don't see their strengths as being necessarily like a threat to my weaknesses. I just see from the end goal as being like, I want as many people that are as competent and capable around me, which means that I have to identify what my weaknesses are and where my limitations lie, and then go out and find people that that don't have that. And so therefore they're different from me. They have different strengths, they have different interests. If I hold my my thoughts and my perspectives with a lot of conviction, but I love having my mind changed. Like I really genuinely enjoy when someone enlightens me because they think totally different and they make me question or reconsider what I thought to be true or what I thought to be right. That's not to say that that happens every time I have a conversation.
Sure.
There are often times where I am put in a position where I reconsider what I thought to be true or what I thought to be important. And I reconsider it and then find myself still feeling the way I felt the first time, whatever that is.
But isn't that how life should be? That someone says, tell me again how you feel and how you think. Well, I think a little bit of this. And sometimes it's kind of like a puzzle where it fits and you're like, oh my gosh, that was the missing piece. I
Yeah.
couldn't get that to fit in place because I was missing this other level of it. Because again, as you're mentioning, we always want to level up. Now, having said that and asking that question, we're not looking for people who are so unlike us that they're argumentative.
No.
I want that to be stressed. So I just got to chill with that because that is just going to constantly have this butting of heads and animosity. And you're just like, okay, I still wish them well. And maybe they're in my co-working space. I'm not going to be angry to them. I'm not going to be mean to them, but we're probably not ride or dies.
Yeah, and I think I do mention a little bit like there has to be some element of cohesiveness. You have to have some similarities, some level of unity on where you're going and what you believe and what you hold to be true. Honesty, integrity, hard work, like work ethic. There are some real general themes in life that if we don't see eye to eye on, that's probably not someone who's going to be on my life team.
Yes.
If they indicate to me or if they have shown examples of being dishonest or of being disrespectful or whatever that looks like, that's going to be a hard sell for me to make the decision and put in the effort to bring someone in on my team who exemplifies some of those qualities. So you're exactly right. You want people that think differently. I want people that think differently, that have different skill sets, that encourage me to consider new perspectives and try new things. But I want them to be, honest and morally sound and optimistic and hardworking.
Well, because there's something that brings you together, but it's also the thing that I love when you think back, and for all of you that are parents or grandparents and you're walking your kids to school and you start to see, who do they migrate to? Is it someone who looks different than them? They'll start asking questions of, oh, this person looks different than me. You've got a different colored skin. You've got, you were raised differently. You come from a different background. But isn't that intriguing? That's why we always say, get out of your own way and start talking to someone that maybe you wouldn't in the past. Boy, it's powerful to see what they bring to the table. And again, hopefully you open your mind and they open their minds to listen to you. And then it's like, wow, I had no idea this was going on in the world. I mean, sometimes you just live in such a small little bubble and it's like all this stuff is going on around me that I didn't know about. We talked about, and I'm going to read this because I think this is powerful. We talked about confidence earlier, and I keep stressing confidence, not arrogance. Confidence, not boastful, okay? Too much confidence comes across as arrogant. False confidence comes across as insecurity. Tackling challenges and doing things that push you outside of your comfort zone, well, that gives you confidence, but you have to be careful. So Caitlin says, as Shane Parrish says, our ego tempts us into thinking we're more than we are, and left unchecked, it turns confidence into overconfidence or even arrogance. And that's when people say, that guy's so cocky, or that girl's a, you know what. Enter the second leg of the tripod she talks about, which is humility. Can you break that down for us? Because so many people that I have encountered in life, they don't understand how to get to that humility side.
Yeah, no, I don't know what the what the magic balance is, and I think it differs for everybody, but striking this balance of humble confidence and being able to say, I'm proud of myself, or being able to share with someone else, I'm proud of myself, and know that you still have, room to grow, to know that the reason you got to where you were was largely, I'm sure, because of the support and input that other people have shared with you. I think that confidence has sort of recently become seen as sometimes negative. And I think there's a really complicated and dynamic relationship between this world of social media and confidence, what it looks like to communicate confidence, what genuine confidence looks like versus, insecure confidence. It's very dynamic, but oftentimes I check my own self by reminding myself, if I'm feeling confident today, or if I've achieved something that feels really good that I know I worked hard on, it's not guaranteed tomorrow. And starting tomorrow, my goal is to turn around and look around and find somebody else who I feel like I can support or share some of the lessons that I learned in whatever it was that I've achieved. So it's a self-imposed check and balance system, which I think is ideally what should be happening. People should be sort of reassessing their own positions and looking around constantly, trying to find where can you identify a place to add value for someone else's life in someone else's world. I think, as I talk about in the book, that's a huge part of team building versus just networking.
Right.
It's not just what can other people, do for you and how can other people support you, but you have to be actively seeking out different places where you think that you can be adding value, where you've identified a skill set of yours that could lend itself positively in the world, in the life of someone else. And then asking questions to confirm that perhaps you are in a position to be helpful. Because there you go again. Like, it's very easy to assume, well, I've identified there's something wrong with you. Let me tell you what it is and let me help you.
Exactly.
That won't end well. But if you can ask, thoughtful questions and remind yourself you aren't in a position to be telling anybody else how to be living their life.
Right.
But perhaps you can share your experiences.
Yes.
I'll just say recently in my own world, in my own personal life, I, have had plenty of challenges and things that I'm working to overcome. But something that has happened frequently over the last couple weeks that I find to be so helpful is when someone else sort of shares like, hey, I see what you're, navigating. Let me just tell you about something that I experienced that was kind of a challenge for me. I'm not going to tell you what conclusions to draw. I'm not going to tell you how to, take this information and apply it to your own life. I'm just going to tell you that I also was challenged in this way.
Yeah.
And this was my experience. And I don't know if the people that I'm surrounding myself with are just, elite supporters, but just sharing the experiences and then saying, like, really candidly, you interpret it how you want. You take what you think is important from this experience. I'm just going to share it.
Right.
It's so powerful.
Absolutely. Well, because somebody all of a sudden hears that and goes, oh, you've been through this? Okay, let's see how we talked yesterday about adversity and what do we do with adversity?
Yeah.
Because really that's where the learning comes into play. We're all going to meet it. We're all going to have challenges. I always say this, it's not always going to be puppies and rainbows. So as negativity enters and tries to enter, it's what do we do with that? She mentioned the word lessons. And before we take a break, here are some of the life direction analysis that she talks about, because she wants you to sit and ask yourself these questions while thinking critically about your answers. And just some of them. What kind of person do you aspire to be? I always ask, how does that serve you? Or what's your purpose? I mean, there's all these things that we should be asking ourselves. What do I want to achieve in life? How do I want to balance my professional ambitions with my personal life? Because there's so much to us. You talk about confidence, humility, vulnerability. She has an analysis of that. And I love, in what ways do you affirm your self-worth and capabilities on a regular basis? I'm putting a lot out to you, and you're hearing all these and you're receiving them. But this is why you get the book, because you sit down, you don't just read through and then keep going. You go, how often do you trust your own judgment when making decisions? Or do you constantly say, oh no, I don't have the right answers? That's that lack of confidence. And I love this. How do you respond when someone disagrees with your opinion or your perspective? A lot of times you shut down, but this is where you should actually lean in and listen to them. Ultimately, you might come back and still feel the same way that you do, but at least you heard another viewpoint. And how do you react when someone gives you, I know my friend Dot hates these two words together. How do you react when someone gives you, she says there's no such thing, Caitlin, by the way, as constructive criticism. She's like, those two words can't go together. She instead says guidance. Like, let's just say, can I give you some guidance on this instead of, can I give you constructive criticism?
Okay.
Because she thinks those two words cancel themselves out. If you're being constructive, you can't be critical. But it's interesting. Again, see, this is where someone thinks. So she said she had a boss one time that said, can we give you some constructive criticism? And she's like, there's no such thing.
That's so interesting.
Instead,
Guidance.
can I give you some guidance?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're talking again with Caitlin Sienkiewicz, and the book available everywhere?
Everywhere. Yep.
Is there an audio version of it?
There will be.
Yeah, I was going to say, you
soon.
You need that for sure. Okay, more with Caitlin Sienkiewicz and the book, How to Build Your Team in Your 20s or your 30s or your 40s or 50s. We'll have that when you come back.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. You are such a gift to the world. Your program is so needed in today's, really in the messages that people need today. So thank you. Thank you for having your faith. So again, thank you so much. I am looking forward to seeing it. I'm looking forward to watching your show much more. So I appreciate you so much. And may God bless you beyond measure.
Are you looking for your own little slice of Italy? Then look no further than Viviano's. For over 20 years, Viviano's has been bringing you delicious Italian cuisine and more for dine-in or for you to enjoy at home. With local ingredients you can see on our shelves, it's no wonder you can taste freshness in our meals. Visit us today or go to vivianoscafe.com.
It is going to be so much fun. We're going to be at the Fenton location, by the way, of Viviano's. We're talking about all of the celebrations that we're going to do for you next week. And then you're going to be doing for us, by the way. It's that beautiful give and take. All of you that wake up every morning and you watch us live or you share this all throughout your social media platforms with your followers, you inspire them and say, hey, this is how I wake up in the morning. You should do the same. Well, Viviano's is where we're going to celebrate at 4 p.m. on Thursday. That'll be March 6th, 4 to 5:30 p.m. Some really incredible food from Viviano's and Chef Mel's. Her spaghetti sauce, her sweet Sicilian is to die for. So we're going to have a lot of samples. We'll have some good wine. We're going to have giveaways. I think we're even going to do an auction. I'm figuring out the charity. It's either going to be a children's charity or maybe first responders or animals, all these loves that I have. So a lot of fun things that we're going to have and some really impactful things as well. So I'd love for you to be at as many of these as you can, but this is the Thursday one. I talked about where we would be next Tuesday, Wednesday. So Extra Mile Fitness is Tuesday. Wednesday, Hello Juice and Smoothie. Thursday is Viviano's, and Friday, ba-boom, this just came in yesterday. Have you heard of Tidy John's? They're right here in Fenton, by the way. My husband introduced me to them when they opened last summer, and boy, their sandwiches are incredible. Zach is directing for me right now. Zach, I'm telling you right now, you got to get that burger. They've got French fries. So you're all hearing me saying this, and of course, yes, I'm a personal trainer, but this is where I talk about the balance of life. So as long as you don't eat French fries and hamburgers and all that sugar stuff, on a regular basis. Salt, sugar, does that serve us well? 100%? No, but 80-20 balance. Their food is incredible. And again, right around the corner from us. So Ken and the staff at Tidy John's, we can't wait to see you for the final culmination of the celebration on Friday. That's going to be at 7 a.m. in the morning, and that's because they just introduced breakfast. So breakfast and lunch, and in fact, on Fridays, they even stay open until 8 o'clock. So 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., there's a lot going on. Otherwise, check their hours on their website. But Tidy John's, why is the name Tidy John's, by the way? It is a play on Sloppy Joe's, okay? It's cute, right? It's kitschy. So a lot of things, again, for you to celebrate with us next week. Thanks for being a part of the show today, by the way. Welcome back, or welcome if you're just tuning in. We're talking about life teams. What is that? Well, you missed a lot of the conversation in the beginning. Get the book. It's available everywhere, and an audio version coming to you very soon. Again, building your team in your 20s, or maybe your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. So we went into the break talking about some really powerful questions that Caitlin asked you. So again, Caitlin Sienkiewicz is my guest, and I want you to spend some time with those, by the way. Beautiful aha moments that I think a lot of you are going to get. And I don't want to give the whole book away, but again, I've got so many pages that are turned down. Some of the powerful ones that I wrote here, Caitlin, is blaming. You talk about blaming other people for loss and challenge, immediately snagging your attention. The act of blaming others indicates to you that someone's lacking accountability. And if you're not honestly assessing the situation and your own involvement, resulting in quickly blaming others for situational mishaps or shortcomings, you say, that's an issue. So admitting, I see the blame game with so many people I've worked with or so many friends that I have, and throw people under the bus. And when you're throwing people under the bus, those obviously aren't your life team, or you don't want them on your life team because you're like, whoa, as soon as I turn my back, you're throwing me under the bus. So go into that a little bit deeper.
So I think it's a tricky game to play. And the context of that specific part of the book is sort of assessing who you want on your team. And so I talk about the different types of people. You want the workhorse. You want the person who's perpetually optimistic. You want somebody who shows you a different side of the coin that you're so focused on. There's all these types of people that you do want. And then you have to be careful of the people that you don't want. And I share a little bit of these characteristics, and mostly what I tried to do was describe situations, circumstances that should send up your own flags. Yes. And then you'll have to make your assessment. To me, it's concerning. It's a flag, however you want to describe it. When I'm in conversation with someone and they're telling me, we had this challenge at work and everybody was dropping the ball and people weren't doing what they were supposed to, and all my direct reports were slacking, and they go on and on and on, and they're telling me about how everybody has wronged them or failed them, and I don't hear any part of, maybe I should have done this differently, or perhaps I could have been more supportive and been clear in my directions with my direct reports, whatever it is, that immediately sends up a flare in my mind of like, how have you just gone this long blaming everybody else in the situation, and you haven't yet identified, either you're too uncomfortable to acknowledge, either you've identified what you have done wrong, but you are too uncomfortable to share it.
Yep.
I think that's worth
One.
probing more on. Or you genuinely don't think you played a role in the unfortunate circumstance. And I think that's concerning as well. So
it is.
In that situation in the book, I hope to prompt people with a little bit of an awareness for situations that they might find themselves in to probe further, whether it's probing in their own minds and sort of questioning, are there other ways that this person is exemplifying qualities I do support? Or should I be asking more questions and trying to gather some more information because they don't seem to be presenting themselves as someone who would be on a life team? And I have found myself, I am sure at some point in my life, regardless of the fact that I feel really strongly about accountability and have grown up with a really accountability focused family, that I'm sure I've been that person too. And that's where I think everybody needs to go back to these questions. Who do you want to be? Who are you? Who have you identified in your life as somebody who inspires you, or someone that you want to live like? And how are you modifying your behavior to match, some of the traits that you think highly of in other people? So I think just because you are that person doesn't mean that is entirely who you are, but those would be places where you're looking and listening to others, where you need to start doing some assessment. And if you find yourself, sort of throwing that blame around, you need to pause and sort of take inventory of your involvement.
Oh, inventory. I like that. Again, it's really powerful to start thinking of your family, your friends, your coworkers, associates, acquaintances, friends, best friends, everybody. You're not regularly like, oh, I'm gonna write down, no, this person did this person did that. But sometimes there's red flags that we miss. And then there's other aha moments of, oh my gosh, I completely missed that this person possesses this inside of them. And I could have probably had a little help with that, and vice versa, that you lean in and you help them back with it. But if I constantly see someone never, ever, ever taking blame for something, it's, wow, you're always, again, as I mentioned before, throwing them under the bus. But I think there's such strength in saying, hey, I did this. I'm responsible for this. I'm sorry, and I'm going to do better. You mentioned before, like, one of the things I love about the book, The 4 Agreements, is always do your best, but your best looks different. All these people dealing with the virus that's been going around, you got a fever. It's not going to look your best as you did when you were okay yesterday, but bring to the table your best version. Later in the book, she talks about turning every conversation into an opportunity for a relationship. This is chapter 8, and I think that's really powerful as she gets near to the end of crucial components, 3 crucial components that are necessary in turning connections and initial conversations into relationships. And her hint is that they sound familiar, but I'm not going to give you the rest of that because I want you to get the book. I'm going to end with this though, before we wrap up. And you and I, by the way, if I wasn't in this open space and I was in our studio, which we will be debuting soon, we would keep going. I'm cognizant and respectful of the fact that they're all going to start coming in here, and I want them to get their coffee and I want them to be able to use their space. But this is what I want you to leave yourself with, to think about the people that you surround yourself with and that you need in life. There's several aspects of the team. Caitlin just mentioned there's people who get things done, and if you're not a person who does, it's okay. And I need them to hear that message, that you're not saying, oh, I'm less than. Boy, why is this person so driven and I'm not? Well, maybe they're infectious and that you can pull a little bit. And even if you level up slightly, you start to go, oh, I looked at myself a year ago and I've gotten better. She actually literally says that there's people who get done, right? The workhorse who does that. The analytical thinker. Think about that person, and maybe that's not you, but there's a version of that can be. We talk about integrity in the book as well. It's very powerful. I'm so glad that you were at Sunset Hills Country Club and that you came into town for that. Do you speak regularly? And if so, do you have anything on your website that we can see where you're going to be in case somebody wants to go deeper into what she provides?
Most of my speaking is by invitation. So I have lots of, I've had the great fortune of coming to talk to lots of different people in all different parts of the country. My website, condiconsulting.com, is a good place to find me. LinkedIn, I love. There's a whole part of the book that talks about cold outreach. Huge proponent of cold outreach, both directions. I like doing it myself and I love to receive it. So LinkedIn, Instagram, those are great places to find me. And yes, on those social channels, I share where I'll be next, what I'll be talking about, and who I'll be talking with.
So nothing as far as like the event that you had that Katie attended, nothing on the docket for that right now.
No,
So
correct.
you need to ask her because I was told it was very powerful. Obviously, it resonated with Katie to say you've got to bring her on, and I'm really glad because again, as I mentioned, you're welcome back. We could go into several other aspects of this, and I'm really intrigued by all of you. I didn't get a chance to look at a lot of the comments, and as I just mentioned, I know that there are people that are coming in to work. I did see a couple. Katie said, I highly recommend Caitlin's book. Really enjoying this concept as I continue to build my own team in my 50s and beyond. And I saw earlier, Diane said, I'm at the point in my life where I want to help the person who's trying to have a new path in their own life. If I've been there and can help them, I want to help them make their path easier. It becomes about them and not about me. And she said you can learn so much from just listening to new people that you meet as they tell you about their journey in life. But that goes back to what we mentioned yesterday, right? Truly listening, getting out of our own way. Okay, so we end every show, by the way, Caitlin, with a devotional. And yesterday I actually told my guests what those books were. And I'm going to do the same thing today because sometimes I just say pick a color.
Great.
So these are 100 Days to Freedom books. And they're from Stephen Arterburn. So it's trying to break us from. Yesterday, she picked fear and anxiety. There's also one for depression. There's one for anger. There's one for overeating, and there's one for shame. What do you think the world needs to hear and break free from?
Let's do the shame.
Shame. We haven't had that one in a while. Okay, our final break. And when we come back, we'll give you, again, everything you need to know about Caitlin's book. We're going to read the one, Breaking You from Shame. And welcome back to the Real Monica Adams Show. If you're just tuning in, shoot, you missed the entire show. But the beauty of streaming is now it's there for you, and it will always be there for you and live on whatever platform you're watching on. And we will continue to grow these platforms. Again, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Rumble, and we're going to go on and on and on. Is there one that we're not on that you want us to be on? Just reach out to me at info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com, and we will add that to our growing list. And yes, we do have a podcast besides the talk show, and that is on Thursdays at 8 a.m. We drop on all audio podcast platforms, and guaranteed, Caitlin, you will make it onto that because it's been a very powerful conversation. Okay, Caitlin chose 100 Days to Freedom from Shame, and we are on day 34, so make it personal. For we live by believing and not by seeing. This is the second book of Corinthians 5, verse 7. Many Christians settle into a way of thinking that is counterproductive to healing and restoration when we sin. And then it happens without realizing it. And when it rears its ugly head, it can be quite troublesome. It's the tendency to think of Jesus as the Savior rather than my Savior. Hear that again. The Savior rather than my Savior. There's an old song by Andre Crouch that talks about Jesus being the answer for the world today. We look at the condition of the world and we think, yes, the world really needs Jesus. We support missions in an effort to carry the gospel into all the world. But when we fall into sin, somehow that Savior, who is everything the world needs, seems pretty far away and pretty unreachable. For some reason, it's easier to think about Jesus as a corporate savior than a personal savior. Perhaps it's because we know how dark and corrupt our own hearts are. We know how often we think things we shouldn't think and do things that we shouldn't do. The world's sins can be easily painted with a broad brush, but our sins are itemized on a rap sheet that absolutely horrifies us. It's hard for us to imagine Jesus not being repulsed when he looks at us. We think, if I were Jesus, I wouldn't want anything to do with me. That's a good one. But check out our verse for today. We live by believing and not by seeing. Yes, you see your rap sheet. You know every bullet point on it, but you believe the blood of Christ is sufficient to erase every one of those sins. It's a hurdle that you got to get over, not just thinking about Jesus as the Savior, but embracing him as your own. So today's prayer, Lord Jesus, I've talked of your love. I've sung of your love. I've listened to grand sermons about your love. Help me now to embrace it and truly believe that it's not just for others, but it's for me too. Like that one. I'm glad you picked that one.
Yeah, that was great.
People don't pick that. You know what? Which one do you think they pick often?
The anxiety?
Yes. She knew right away.
Mhm.
Fear and anxiety, but that all, of course, leads into all these other ones: shame,
Yeah.
depression, overeating, addictions, things like that. Okay, you have been wonderful. Once again, you can find Caitlin online. Follow her on social media. Go to her website, which we showed you earlier, and we'll pull that up for you again. Again, to Condi Consulting. There's her information, her email, the website, phone number. Get the book, more importantly. And I know a lot of you are always looking for new books. Look, Zach said, look how cute her dog is.
He is. That's my team. That's my life team mascot.
Of course. Does your mascot cuddle in by you on a regular basis when you're working?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how my Adelaide is. What is your dog's name?
Marvin.
Marvin. How old is Marvin and what kind of breed?
He's 6 months and he's a corgi.
Corgi. Okay.
He's a puppy.
You know, we love animals so much on this show. So, Zach, thanks for bringing that to my attention. Okay, so find the book and let me know, by the way, how it changed your life as you build your own team in your 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s. And by the way, if you are younger than that and older than that, it still applies to you. It's just that book would have gone on forever, 60, 70, 80.
Exactly.
Caitlin, thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you, Monica. This is wonderful. I so enjoyed our conversation. I love what you're doing. I love the platform. I love the perspective.
Well,
Awesome.
thank you.
I can't wait to watch.
Share
you on.
Thank you. And I will cheer you as well. So share again this with all of your followers and let's build each other up. That's the beautiful thing that we do. Again, back in 2020, she didn't know she was going to be an author. And then here we were a few years later and she's like, yep, I'm going to put a book out. So she believed in herself, but she had the life team that believed in her as well. And I can guarantee you they did the one thing that we always ask, and that was they showed her kindness. That's what we ask for you to do. Be kind and God bless.